بسم الله والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقه قولي. Assalamu alaikum rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu, and welcome to day number 2, where we will inshallah be looking at the correct pronunciation of the letter ta. Okay, so before we actually start going into the ta, the very first thing we need to look at is where does it actually come from? Where is it articulated from? How do we actually pronounce the letter ta? Which part of the tongue are we using? We know it's a letter that uses the tongue, but it is very different to the ta that's pronounced in other languages, like in English or in some of the other, if you're from the Indian subcontinent, for example, the type of ta that's pronounced there is very different to the Arabic ta. So this is the first thing that we need to understand. When we are pronouncing ta in other languages, if it's, for example, in English, the T, it uses the very tip or very edge of the tongue. The ta in Arabic, they call it, they say that you're using tarful lisan, or what is the tip of the tongue, but the tip of the tongue in Arabic is a little bit different, okay? The tarful lisan, for those of you that can see me and are in the live, you'll be able to sort of see in the video, and I will try to describe it as best as I can, but you don't use a wide area of the tip of the tongue, okay? You don't use this. You use the very tip of the tongue, but you also use a little bit of the top side, okay? A little bit of the top side, and it's the middle of the tip of the tongue, okay? The middle of the tip of the tongue. So you don't use the sides of the tongue when pressing at the top, okay? So you use a narrower part of the tip of the tongue, and this touches behind the upper two front teeth. So behind the upper two incisors, okay? You don't press the tongue against the teeth, okay? The pressure that you apply is with the tip of the tongue behind the upper two front teeth, okay? So if you are pronouncing the ta with a fatha, then just like yesterday, it's a very clean, it's a light letter. We just say ta, 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 okay? So again, it's the same movement as we did for the ba in terms of when you open for the fatha, the mouth should open correctly. You feel your jaw dropping and the mouth opening, okay? Your tongue in the middle, the tongue inside, all the tongue is relaxed, okay, and at rest. Ta. So that is the letter ta. Then we move to the one with the dhamma. This is the tu. Tu. Again, tu is a light letter. And with all, as with all letters that have a dhamma, we circle the lips. We circle the lips and we have a gap in the middle through which the sound can come out. Ta, tu, tu, tu. Nice and light. Ta, tu. Okay. Then we come to the kasra, and again having a nice e sound at the end, and a nice light t. Again, you feel that your jaw drops a little bit for this. T, 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 ta, tu, ti, ta, tu, ti. Okay. The ta, when it has a sukoon, when it's joined to the letter preceding it, does require a little bit of discussion. Ta has a quality known as shidda, and this means that when it's, particularly when it's joined to the letter before it, the sound stops. And this is, you can tell when I say, for example, at, the sound stops. At, there's a point right at the end, the sound just cuts off. But then it also has a quality known as hums, where you should hear a little bit of the breath. First, you stop the sound, then you hear a little bit of breath, like this. At, at, at. You see that little bit of breath that comes after? The sound stops first, the breath comes after. This is very important for the letter ta, and we never exaggerate or overdo the breath at the end. We don't say at, for example. That's too much, okay? At, just a little bit, okay? So we have here ta, tu, ti, at, okay? Let's have a look at some of the examples where we see the letter ta in these words. So the first one is watawalla, watawalla. Okay, so here the ta opens just as it does normally for the ta, a nice light ending. Wa, ta, wa, watawalla, watawalla. Okay. We also have the word qutilat. Here we have a ta with a kasra, and we also have a ta with a sukoon. So ti, again, ti. I want that nice e sound at the end of the ta. Make sure your tongue is still touching the right place. The gums behind the upper two front teeth. Don't press against the teeth. قتلت. And again, the ta with the sukoon at the end. Stop the sound first, then hear the breath. قتلت, قتلت, قتلت. Okay. And then finally, our last example is where we can see a ta with a dhamma, and then we also see it with a fatha. Wa'utu, wa'utu. So nice circling of the lips. It's a light oo sound. Wa'utu, wa'utu bihi. Okay, so nice and light with the ta. And then we have mutashabiha. Now this word, you can see that it starts with a circling of the lips when you say the dhamma, when you say mu. But even despite the circling of the lips and the lips being so close together when you say mu, by the time you come to the ta, you are still opening just exactly the same way as you do when you say this letter in isolation. So when we just said ta, ta, again we say mu, ta. It's the same, coming back to the same movement of the mouth. Muta, mutashabiha, wa utu bihi mutashabiha, wa utu bihi mutashabiha. Okay, so that in a nutshell is a little bit of information for you regarding the letter ta. Please do practice. Practice is really, really important, and with practice a person can become much, much better. So, and when you practice these, say them out loud to yourself. Do not whisper them, because that's not going to help. Say them out loud to yourself and look at yourself in the mirror to make sure and to see how your mouth is moving. Because sometimes you think you're doing something, but when you see yourself, you'll realize that you're not quite doing it right. So make sure you look at yourself in the mirror as you say these words. May Allah make it easy for all of you. Jazakumullahu khairan. I look forward to seeing you all again tomorrow, where we will be looking, inshallah, at the letter Tha. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك نشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت نستغفرك ونتوب إليك. بارك الله لي ولكم في القرآن الحكيم ونفعني وإياكم بالآية والذكر الحكيم. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.